Welcome, dear friends, to our midweek pause. A pause with God's Word. Pause with a psalm. We've been threading our way through this long Psalm 119 with 176 verses. We're taking them in 3 groups of 8 each week as we work our way through. They're all quite similar. They're all using synonyms for God's Word, for the Torah, that self-communication of God to us. So let's pause now for a few moments and let the silence envelop us as we allow ourselves to take this image that I'm suggesting as an image for the psalm. When you feel as though you're sinking in the weight of your troubles, meditating on Psalm 119 will keep you afloat. So the image of this man floating is a relaxing image in which the surrender to the sea expresses our surrender to God. And we're going to focus on this image because as the wind blows and the waves ripple and flow, so you will hear and sense the rippling flow of the verses in this section and all the sections of Psalm 119, flowing gently to keep you afloat with God's Word. We pause now in the silence and allow ourselves to surrender together to the power of silence and God at the heart of silence. I offer to you now the fire starter on Psalm 119, these particular verses. We've been taking a key Hebrew word in our Wednesday meditations during Easter week. This one is called the Divine Inspector. The Hebrew word for precepts is pikud, occurring 24 times in the Bible. All the references are in the Psalms, with all but 3 of them occurring in Psalm 119. The meaning of the root of the word is to oversee. Precepts are the conditions of the job description that a supervisor develops for employees. They are specific, yet much different from what happens between bosses and workers. There is here a sense of affection and comfort the psalmist finds in his God, along with a joyful experience of protection that one rarely finds in the business world. Are there some specific precepts that God is enjoining upon you for your spiritual growth in the Lord? Scan your life. What does your divine supervisor have to say? And now we turn to the first of 8 verses in this section, beginning with verse 121. And as I mentioned before, each of these 8 verse sections begins with a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, progressing to the 22 letters. Here is Ayin. It's a characteristic of this psalm, and it's part of the creativity of the sacred writer to be able to fashion and craft the verses that he wants to express, hinged to this particular Hebrew letter, and as the letters flow throughout the psalm. I have done what is just and right. Do not leave me to my foes. Guarantee the well-being of your servant. Let not the proud oppress me. My eyes grow weary as I watch for your salvation and for your promise of justice. Treat your servant with merciful love and teach me your statutes. I am your servant. Give me understanding. Then I shall know your decrees. It is time for the Lord to act, for your law has been broken. That is why I love your commands more than finest gold. Why I rule my life by your precepts and hate false ways. As you rest in the verses of this psalm, can you feel as yourself floating that there's a ripple effect? Each of the verses has an assertive part and then a responsive part. Feel that as you move through this characteristic of all the verses. We come now to the next letter, Pe, beginning with verse 129. Your decrees are wonderful indeed. Therefore my soul obeys them. The unfolding of your word gives light and understanding to the simple. I have opened my mouth and I sigh, for I yearn for your commands. Turn and have mercy on me, as is your rule for those who love your name. Let my steps be guided by your promise. May evil never rule me. Redeem me from man's oppression, and I will keep your precepts. Let your face shine forth on your servant, and teach me your decrees. My eyes shed streams of tears because of those who have not kept your law. The power of the emotions in this psalm, like that last verse, my eyes shed streams of tears because of those who do not keep your word, your law. These are tears of longing, of compassion, of prayer. What sort of tears do you find that you shed? What's their source? We need to shed tears for the suffering of others and find ways to make their suffering more easy to respond to, by community, by connection, by love. And now for the final third section, beginning with verse 137, Tzadeh, this next letter of the Hebrew alphabet. You are just, O Lord. Your judgments are upright. You have imposed your decrees with justice and with utter fidelity. I am consumed with zeal, for my foes forget your word. Your promise has been thoroughly tested, and it is cherished by your servant. Although I am young and despised, I do not forget your precept. Your justice is justice forever, and your law is truth. Though anguish and distress have found me, your commands are my delight. Your decrees are forever just. Give me insight, and I shall live. The commands of God, the instructions of God, the precepts, the statutes, all these synonymous words are a delight. Do you find delight as you connect with God's word? these words stretch out to you. They reach across the divine source into that identifying source in your soul to make that connection, that bond, because it's one. We heard in the recent Gospel of John that I and the Father are one, and we will come and make our home with you. All these intimate expressions that the God of the universe, which we'll be acknowledging in a special way tomorrow on Ascension Thursday, is the enthronement of God on high, not to separate God and Jesus from us, but to revisit us in the Spirit, which we'll be praying for a week from Sunday on Pentecost Sunday. So thank you for joining with us in this meditation. I encourage you to jot down some notes, reread, go back over some verses that particularly seem to brighten your delight in God's Word. Rest with them. Repeat them back and forth. As you rest in a chair, on your bed, or on the floor, just reclining in God's presence like the image of the man floating in water suggests. And remember, if you're having a tough time with the burdens of your life, you feel as though you're sinking under the weight of your troubles, meditate on this psalm, and all of God's Word will enable you to stay afloat. If you found this meditation helpful, may I encourage you to put a like to it, a comment, to share it, and of course to subscribe to this channel as we continue to have our weeks, the center of each week, and our Sunday videos from worship services and sermons, all the things that are on the YouTube channel for Matawan United Methodist Church. Check it out. Share it out. One of the ways of bringing delight to others is to share something that you found delight in. God bless you, and much peace to you and your family.